Welcome to the Japanese Modern Assignment presentation. The Japanese modern movement was from the 1960s to around the 2000s. Today we're going to talk about two artists and their works from the 1970s to the early 1990s. For much of the 20th century, graphic design had been a time-consuming and laborious process. Designs could not be visualized unless they were laid out by hand. As mentioned in previous presentations, experimenting with different fonts at the click of a mouse simply wasn't an option, as all type had to be ordered from typesetters. However, as technology continued to advance and new computer software became available, the graphic design process was revolutionized. The arrival of computers meant there was no longer any need for a separate typesetter, as designers now had the tools to do the jobs themselves. The novelty of this progression led to many young designers taking an experimental approach to editorial design. Advanced software, too, equipped designers with the ability to do everything from stretching and layering type to creating the most complex montages. Graphic design was a relatively new discipline in Japan after the Second World War. Both European constructivism and Western design were important influences on Japanese graphic designers, resulting in a new design style that incorporated international influences while still retaining its national traditions. A diverse range of iconography, including manga comic books, popular sci-fi movies, and of course the traditional family crest, also provided inspiration. Let's look at some work created by Takenobu Igarashi. We'll go through his work chronologically to see his design evolution. Opening his first design office in 1970, Japanese designer Takenobu Igarashi developed an individual style creating three-dimensional alphabets. He incorporates the architectural alphabets into both graphic work and sculpture used for signage. The alphabets are drawn on an isometric grid and are diverse in their complexity. Letters appear to explode into multiple parts or to be constructed from different materials. This poster for Idea magazine is an early representative work created in 1975, drawing alphabets using the equiangular projection method. They are created using dot, line, surfaces, and basic geometric forms of circle and square, the grids bringing mathematical order to the work. This Zen poster from 1976 is a representative work drawn on a draft board using 5mm 3D grids. Designing a poster for the jazz festival held every summer in a park in Tokyo allowed great design freedom for Igarashi. In 1976, he was working on experimental work entitled Jazz 15, which was exhibited in galleries in Tokyo and Amsterdam, so this was the perfect project for him. This series was an homage to Max Bill, who had done a series entitled 15 Variations, and whose work inspired and influenced Igarashi when he was a student. Igarashi continued to design posters for the Summer Jazz Festival until 1984. In designing the cover for a newsletter in 1980, Igarashi decided to do variations on the word design, using the axonometric drawing technique, based on the same type with different ideas for each issue. After a year, his task for the newsletter ended, but he continued making them, resulting in more than 20 variations. The PARCO Part 3 project, designed in 1981, transformed a two-dimensional logo into 3D signage. The company also used the logo as doorknobs, as a neon sign, on shopping bags, and in advertisements. Also in 1981, Igarashi designed these posters for No at the UCLA Asian Performing Arts Institute. He created three grayscale variations of the same forms. For this Hawaiian Graphics poster, Igarashi imagined a pineapple as architecture for the graphic design exhibition at Access Gallery in 1982. This is a series of alphabet greeting cards, and it includes 26 three-dimensional silk-screened letters from A to Z, created in 1983. In 1984 through 1991, Igarashi was commissioned by the Museum of Modern Art in New York to create monthly calendar posters. Igarashi says this about the project. A year consists of 365 days. I don't believe that anyone can instantly answer how many numerals are needed to represent the 365 days. The answer is 622. The calendar was a project designing 622 different numerals based on a different idea for each month of the year. In 7 years, I designed 4,356 variations of axonometric three-dimensional numerals based on 84 different ideas. Except for some, most were drawn manually with a ruling pen. This 1985 poster for the Science and Technology International Exposition in Japan allowed Igarashi to show off his exploding tech skills as a very scientific approach. In 1987, Face the Type Workshop invited and sponsored a visit from Igarashi to Sydney and Melbourne, Australia, where he had a solo exhibit and gave 2 student lectures. This is the poster he created to promote the events. In 1988, just when the computer was introduced as a tool in the field of graphic design, Igarashi attempted to achieve an aesthetic harmony between manual drawing and computer technology. He also kept in mind that his design should deliver this message beyond the barriers of language and state. This design for the new Polaroid Impulse was used as billboards, posters, and advertisements all over Europe and the United States. In 1989, the World Design Expo official poster features a design consisting of space and the world of elaborate figures generated by the computer. And Igarashi's design for the AIM logo contains the fundamental geometric forms of circle, triangle, and square, made in 1991, and worked successfully as both shape and form. He was very ahead of his time. Now let's look at examples of flat, yet also incredible work, this time created by Ikko Tanaka. Ikko Tanaka was a Japanese graphic designer who formed the Tanaka Design Studio in 1963. Tanaka is widely recognized for his prolific body of interdisciplinary work, which includes graphic identity and visual matter for a plethora of brands and corporations. Tanaka was a key figure in the promotion of modern Japanese graphic design. His work, both creatively and as a founding member of the Nippon Design Center, helped bring a much-needed level of professionalism and focus to this new discipline. Tanaka's designs reworked traditional Japanese themes in modern graphic styles, using abstract motifs and geometric forms. His use of bold, polychromatic geometries and his harnessing of the dynamic visual potential of typography are undergirded by a sensitivity towards traditional Japanese aesthetics. Though keenly sensitive to historical precedents and established conventions, Tanaka nevertheless maintained a degree of playfulness in his work, manipulating color, scale, and form to reconfigure familiar iconographies into fresh and accessible visual representations. Tanaka is also widely recognized for his poster designs for No productions and other performances and exhibitions staged in Japan and beyond. This poster is for the Nihon Baiyu for UCLA's Asian Performing Arts Institute in 1981. It was designed to a rigid grid and formed from simple geometric shapes reminiscent of Chinese tangrams. Even though the shapes used are so simple, the image is instantly recognizable as a traditional Japanese geisha. Tanaka was active in realms of typography, exhibition design, and book design as well, and his publication, Japan Style, was released in 1980 alongside the Victoria and Albert Museum exhibition of the same name. This is his poster titled The New Spirit of Japanese Design Print from 1984. The surreal and playful faces were used to promote theater and dance events. His work with kabuki actors was particularly outstanding, as well as exhibitions, festivals, communication companies, cosmetic firms, and fashion designers. And with very few exceptions, these characters were Japanese. Tanaka was inspired by American graphic design and Bauhaus, but carried out his work as a bridge between his native culture and Western art and design. This poster is for the Close-Up of Japan exhibition in London in 1985. Tanaka used a simple, strong primary palette with a predominance of black. Red circles mimic the rising sun of their national flag, and neutral backgrounds symbolize the Japanese landscape. This radiant travel poster, featuring a Sika deer, is from 1986. Promoting his home country, Tanaka's poster is a perfect synthesis of traditional Japanese simplicity and grace, together with 1980s Japanese pop art. This softer but still geometric approach to creating animals led to the design for this poster for HIROSHIMA Appeals in 1988, where he juxtaposes a white dove, the symbol for peace, over a grayscale image of an atomic bomb explosion. When talking about Ikko Tanaka's work, it would be impossible to not recognize the significant portion of his design that was composed of and dedicated to typography. When the display of type had to be more rigid, Tanaka allowed the geometry of shapes in the background, as well as careful manipulation of color, to express his elegant and playful sense of design. Ultimately, Tanaka's work in typography is just as powerful and significant as his no posters. There's undoubtedly a powerful message in using almost exclusively Japanese characters to create striking and modern visuals, on par with work created by the Bauhaus and Swiss type designers, proclaiming to the rest of the world that Japan was an artistic force to be reckoned with. Even in the 90s, Tanaka continued exploring ways to create his surreal and playful faces for event posters. This poster is for the largest culture festival of Japan in 1991. And this poster from 1995 is for the bicentennial of the ukiyo-e woodcut artists Tsushusai Sharaku, active from 1794 to 95. His poster cites Sharaku's ukiyo-e prints, which merely show the head or bust portrait of a character, and the principle of their composition from 9 circles. Thank you for watching.